We are now in Batalha. Located about 150 kilometers north of Lisbon, this small town is home to one of the most important monuments in Portuguese history. In a few moments, we will visit the Batalha Monastery together. Officially known as the Monastery of Santa Maria de Vitoria, it was commissioned by King João I of Portugal in 1385. The construction of the monastery took approximately 150 years to complete. Today, the building is considered one of the finest examples of Portuguese Gothic architecture. Its delicate stone carvings, soaring arches, and ornate windows continue to impress visitors from around the world. The monastery also contains remarkable examples of the Manueline style, a unique architectural style that developed in Portugal. As we explore this remarkable monument together, we will have the opportunity to experience nearly 6 centuries of history carved into its stones. Now let's begin our visit with the unfinished chapels section. One of the most remarkable parts of the monastery is the section known as the unfinished chapels. This area was designed as a royal mausoleum for the Portuguese royal family, but due to various political and economic reasons, it was never completed. As a result, what we see today is an impressive architectural space that remains open to the sky. As we enter the chapels, the first feature that captures our attention is the magnificent portal connecting this section to the monastery. Considered one of the finest examples of the Manueline architectural style, the doorway is distinguished by its exceptionally detailed stone carvings, maritime motifs, floral patterns, coats of arms, and religious symbols reflect Portugal's wealth and power during the Age of Discoveries. At the center of the chapels lies the tomb of King Duarte of Portugal and his wife, Eleanor of Aragon. King Duarte was the son of King João I and envisioned this area as the final resting place of the Portuguese monarchs. However, after his death, construction slowed down and eventually came to a complete halt. As a result, the king's tomb remained beneath the open sky rather than inside the completed structure that had originally been planned. On one side, we see unfinished walls and arches. On the other, extraordinary stone craftsmanship and delicate decorative details. For this reason, the unfinished chapels are regarded as one of the most unique architectural spaces not only within the Batalha Monastery, but in all of Portugal. They also stand as a powerful symbol of human ambition, the passage of time, and the enduring marks left by history. We are now walking towards the entrance of the church, which forms part of the monastery complex. In 1993, the Batalha Monastery was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is not only a religious monument, but also an important symbol of Portugal's history, artistic heritage, and struggle for independence. We are now standing at the entrance of the church. The portal before us is one of the notable examples of the Manueline style. Its finely carved stone decorations feature floral motifs, coats of arms, and religious figures. Now we are about to enter this impressive church, considered the heart of the Batalha Monastery. As we step inside, the first thing we notice is the extraordinary height and spaciousness of the building. Reaching approximately 32 meters in height, the nave was considered one of the tallest church interiors in Portugal at the time it was built. The slender columns, pointed arches, and large stained glass windows, all characteristic of Gothic architecture, immediately capture our attention. As we step inside, the first thing we notice is the extraordinary height and spaciousness of the building. Reaching approximately 32 meters in height, the nave was considered one of the tallest church interiors in Portugal at the time it was built. The slender columns, pointed arches, and large stained glass windows, all characteristic of Gothic architecture, immediately capture our attention. The church is not only a place of worship, but also home to chapels and tombs that preserve important traces of Portuguese history and Christian tradition. One of the most remarkable sections of the church is the Chapel of Saint Michael, or Capella de São Miguel, dedicated to the Archangel Michael, who symbolizes the fight against evil in Christian tradition. This chapel played an important role in the religious life of the monastery. Another important feature is the tomb of St. James, known as Túmulo de São Tiago. St. James is regarded as one of the key saints who contributed to the spread of Christianity across the Iberian Peninsula. His cult was especially important during the Middle Ages, attracting pilgrims from many parts of Europe. Another sacred space within the church is the Chapel of Our Lady, or Capella de Nossa Senhora. Dedicated to the Virgin Mary, this chapel served for centuries as a special place of prayer for both the royal family and ordinary people. Sailors and explorers embarking on long voyages often came here to pray for protection and guidance before their journeys and to give thanks upon their return. These chapels and tombs remind us that the Batalha Monastery is not only an architectural masterpiece but also an important center that preserves Portugal's religious, cultural, and historical memory. The church's stained glass windows are truly worth admiring. The light filtering through them creates a different atmosphere throughout the day and beautifully reflects the spirit of Gothic architecture. Now we are heading to Batalha Monastery's most special and historically significant section, the Founders' Chapel. In a moment we will enter this remarkable space, which is not only a burial site, but also a monument symbolizing the birth of the modern Portuguese state. The Founders' Chapel was built in the early 15th century and became one of Portugal's first royal pantheons. It was created to honor the House of Aviz, the dynasty that commissioned the Batalha Monastery and safeguarded Portugal's independence, influenced by the English Gothic style of the period. The chapel is renowned for its elegant arches, star-shaped vaults, and harmonious architectural design. As we step inside, our attention is immediately drawn to the center of the chapel. Here lies the joint tomb of King João I of Portugal and his wife, Philippa of Lancaster. This monument is considered one of the most impressive royal tombs of the European Middle Ages. Looking closely, you can see the king and queen depicted holding hands. This detail symbolizes not only their personal bond, but also the historic alliance between Portugal and England. Philippa of Lancaster was a member of the English royal family, and her marriage to João I strengthened the relationship between the two nations. In fact, the foundations of the Anglo-Portuguese alliance, which still exists today, were largely established during this period. For this reason, the tomb represents not only two monarchs, but also a historic partnership that connected two countries. Looking around the chapel, we can also see the tombs of other important members of the royal family. Among them, the most notable is undoubtedly Prince Henry the Navigator. Although he never personally took part in the great voyages of discovery, he supported expeditions along the African coast, encouraged advances in cartography and navigation, and became one of the key figures behind Portugal's Age of Discoveries. Alongside Henry rest the king's other sons and members of the royal family. As a result, the Founders' Chapel is not merely a family mausoleum, but also a place that preserves the memory of the dynasty that transformed Portugal from a small European kingdom into one of the world's greatest maritime powers. The architecture of this space deserves special attention as well. The chapel's soaring ceilings and delicate stonework showcase the extraordinary skill of the craftsmen who built it. If you look upward, you can appreciate the complexity and elegance of the vaulting system above. More than 6 centuries after its construction, the chapel still retains its original grandeur and beauty. What makes the Founders' Chapel truly special is not only the people buried here. It is one of the most important symbolic places where Portugal's independence, royal history, and national identity took shape. In many ways, the heart of Portuguese history beats within these walls. This scale model inside the Batalha Monastery helps us understand how the entire complex was designed and how its different sections are connected to one another. It provides a clearer view of the monastery's impressive scale and reveals just how carefully and intricately its Gothic architecture was planned. As we continue forward, we come across the tomb of one of the monastery's most important architects, Matheus Fernandes. He is best known for his work on the famous unfinished chapels of the Batalha Monastery. Matheus Fernandes played a key role in the development of the uniquely Portuguese Manueline style and was regarded as one of the most talented architects of his time, particularly for his extraordinary skill in stone carving. Now we are moving into one of the most elegant and impressive sections of the Batalha Monastery, the Royal Cloister. This area served as one of the central spaces of monastic life. For centuries, monks walked here, prayed, organized their daily activities, and spent time in silence and contemplation. The first thing that catches our attention is the delicate stone columns surrounding the courtyard and the remarkably intricate decorations. Although construction of the cloister began in the late 14th century, many of the decorative elements we see today were added later and enriched, particularly under the influence of the Manueline style. As a result, this is a place where we can admire both the simplicity of Gothic architecture and the elaborate, ornamental details of Manueline art side by side. We are now entering the chapter house, one of the most important sections of the Batalha Monastery. This was the place where the monks gathered to discuss daily matters, make decisions, and listen to readings of religious texts. One of the most remarkable features of this hall is its vaulted ceiling, built without any supporting column in the center. For its time, this was considered an exceptionally bold engineering achievement and demonstrated the extraordinary skill of the builders. Today, the hall is also home to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, created to honor Portuguese soldiers who lost their lives during the First World War. Let's take a walk through this beautiful garden together and enjoy the stunning scenery, created by its harmonious combination with the artistry of the Manueline style. As our tour of the Batalha Monastery comes to an end, we can look back on an incredible journey through one of Portugal's most important historical landmarks. Today, we explored not only an impressive monastery, but also one of the most significant symbols of Portuguese history. In the Founders' Chapel, we discovered the stories of the rulers who shaped the nation's destiny, and we admired the elegant architecture of the Royal Cloister. After leaving the monastery, we moved to the area beside the complex, where we took a closer look at its exterior, the surrounding atmosphere, and its remarkable entrance. This final stop reminds us that the Batalha Monastery is just as impressive from the outside as it is within its walls. Even after more than 6 centuries, this magnificent monument continues to inspire visitors and tell the stories of the past. I hope this tour has given you the opportunity to learn more about both the architecture of the monastery and the fascinating history behind it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts with us in the comments below.